Sup everybody, this is Karak with ACG, and as always it's my first person mission to bring you reviews that aren't 2 minutes long or filled with sponsored bullshit. Today's title of sword slicing spellcasting skullduggery is a little game called Shadow Warrior 2 from Flying Wild Hog. It's out Thursday for PC and next year for Xbox One and PS4, so let's see how this politically correct first person culinary simulator does as it enters the fray against titles such as Doom. As always, if you like the video, maybe subscribe. So here's my review for Shadow Warrior 2. No One Can Handle the Wang, A City Called Contrast, and the world's worst bachelor pad. Graphics are up first. Well, I have to say, it's actually nice to turn a game on and see that not only does it run spectacularly well on a number of systems, old and new, but it also looks the part, throwing an extraordinary number of effects, post-processing, and artful location designs at your face at the speed of enemy death. Whether rain and blood or hell, just raining, the game's particle effects take overabundance to a whole new level. This is seriously the Michael Bay of particle effects design, showering players with an assortment of bloody graffitis and painting the land in your past successes. Tearing through the body cavities of Tron's sequel rejects to watch them spout their neon love juice across the level? Check. Taking off the spurting limbs of demonic demon dogs that have entirely too many of them anyway? Check. Running through wistful woods as leaves fall softly around you, right before you're attacked by the world's largest and most pissed off bunny rabbit? Check. In fact, while not pressed with the pristine sheen we get from some titles, Shadow Warrior 2 still impresses both in speed, animation, and overall presentation, with a keen eye on keeping that frame rate high while you're dealing wickedly hot death into the soul containers of the bad guys around you. Now, the game has a ton of options. One of the most interesting, of course, is HDR, and it seems to work. And when the GTX 1080 was plugged into the HDR TV, all settings updated, and the HDR signal was identified, and the picture did indeed change. Now, I'll do some tests to confirm this, but at this time, it certainly appears to be supporting HDR to TVs that offer that choice. What's so surprising here is that while some of the game's overall layout has indeed changed, which I'll discuss in a little bit, the overall direction and design is absolutely top-notch. Here, whether flitting through forest shadows on your way to a mysteriously occupied pagoda, or sprinting across neon-soaked pathways in locations that would give any cyberpunk game a run for its money. That unique mix of fantastical and otherworldly about the entire presentation without a misstep is really phenomenal here. Now, one thing that was stellar in Shadow Warrior that continues here is the world and enemy design, from the black tux wearing bodyguards with their razor-sharp swords to the hilariously gymnastics-apt futuristic office guards of various locations with their random, no-reason-but-it-looks-cool flips. It would be like your local Pinkerton security mall cop performing a layout step-out over the local fern basket just because walking around it would take too fucking long. Regardless, as with the original title, up-close melee feels quick and decisive, and you can location-specific slice enemies into small pufferfish edible bits if you want, and it all works incredibly well, really regardless if you're using the mouse or a gamepad. Now, it doesn't have the true weight or bite that weapons have in, say, Vermintide, but it's really not going for that at all. And lastly, movement. Dare I say that with the dash button, you are looking at a game that gives the recent Doom a run for its money when it comes to speed and movement. Like two sprinters in the world's bloodiest Olympics, both are hilariously awesome bastards moving at breakneck speed. But while Doom does it as a more steady pace, where Shadow Warrior seems to excel is the quick twitches of side-to-side, in and out, and up and down movement, and that really parlays into some excellent melee combat. Death parkour roller coaster with twin samurai swords strapped to your body has never been so fun. And once you get a taste of it, you can't stop. That ability to slick up behind enemies as they're still staring at the vacant spot you left a moment ago and slice them in half. It's not only impressive to perform, but it's damn fun to watch. Additionally, I have to say that the weapons are excellent. They have a really good design to them. Now, even in co-op, the gameplay continues at the same brisk pace, and while at times it can begin to look a bit like the entire world just said, fuck it, let's throw particles everywhere. Trust me, there is a reason, and sooner rather than later, you're in a room surrounded by slowly rocking body parts, like the separate pieces are trying to go to sleep and forget that they ever met you. Now, one of the problems here is that, damn, they need to work on their characters' close-up models. Some of them are next level bad, with NPCs getting the brunt of the bad looks, where sometimes it looks like someone had an iron and just pressed out every detail of their noggins before putting them in the game. That really hurts it, especially in cutscenes and, of course, in discussions. As a whole, though, Shadow Warrior 2 looks amazing. It runs incredibly well on all three test computers and offers a very unique-looking world. Excellent overall graphics, sound, music, and voice.
Nothing like a fresh clip.
And of course, sound is up first. Now, this is decidedly more hit and miss than the graphics, with the location, atmospheric, and melee weapon sounds really hammering home an excellent feeling of presence. The guns, though, decidedly lack punch, and I mean all of them, resulting in an audio presentation that seems like it's artificially clipped, so a sword swing is just as loud as a 357 shooting the identity off of a recently hired bad guy. Most machine guns sound the same, and while the shotgun has a bit of a resonant punch, it too lacks that low end that I would have expected. In the end, I wasn't really happy with the sound. Average at best. Music. First, props out for Stan Bush returning to write a single. It's Stan Bush, so basically it means you have the guy who single-handedly made the 1980s great after Flock of Seagulls tried to fuck it up for everyone else. Now, proper hero ballads aside, the rest of the music is excellent, with typical slants on traditional Asian themes, as well as a bevy of less traditional bits and dynamic music for battles. It does an excellent job keeping the energy high, even if it's just Wang driving his car through a countryside. Pretty good music. Now, as always in these games, what you get is a great cast of people literally making fun, taking the piss out of one another, and being as politically incorrect as you can possibly handle. It's really good voice work throughout, with the occasional misstep or oddly fitting character in there. But even the humor of the NPCs is there, like the robotic corporate security shooting bullets at you with reckless abandon, but consistently warning you that it's your job to drop your weapon first. Also, the one-liners of the main character, Wang, may seem childish to some, but for me personally, I absolutely love the humor, as we have some gruff and rough and ready fighters in most of today's games anyway. When it gets right down to it, Wang's made an art form out of respectful belligerence, and it's excellent. Well, maybe some of the other characters don't really keep up with that performance. Altogether, good voice. Gameplay. So a little bit about the story. You play as Lo Wang on the search for a cure for Kamiko, who starts out the game getting injected with something mysteriously pretty much called stuff, which somehow lets a demon into her body. To save her, her soul's injected into Wang's body, so you end up sharing a brain space until all is set right. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, it's a demonic-inspired inner space with her running around Jack Putter style inside Wang's head, which is a sentence I most likely will never say again. And you're pretty much off from that point on. Now, Shadow Warrior 2 breaks somewhat with the prior title's delivery here. You have a home base from which you gather main and side quests, because despite demon possession, Wang is still open to making some cash, working for random peeps on the side, and spending it at the local stores nearby. Every mission, except for the story-specific ones, will feature randomly generated level design and content, using a tile-based queuing system for randomized map layouts, enemy position, terrain, buildings, and weather conditions. This is not procedural content. That doesn't mean in any way it's procedural. It means a hands-on development of those areas that are then put into a database that can then change them up a little bit. Think returning to your hometown, but someone fucked with Main Street. Now it's 2 streets away and the bowling alley is a brothel. That kind of thing. Also, the ability to get up to 70 plus weapons with variations, as well as random upgrades to them of all sorts, and you really begin to see from the start what Shadow Warrior 2 is actually going for. And here's the thing, people, I'm going to say it out loud. This is basically like a gun-toting Hong Kong action movie rendition of Hellgate London that actually works perfectly. Might as well call it Ninja Hole Japan. It literally takes absolutely everything that was supposed to make Hellgate London great, except it doesn't have a third-person camera, and then makes it great. From the way the upgrade systems work with their modifiers, to the multiplayer co-op, to the magic spells, even down to the way the loot systems overall work. Now, don't get me wrong, like games prior, Shadow Warrior 2 does have a story, and the game doesn't seem to suffer for this overall change. What it does do is offer others the ability to jump into the title with you in co-op. Now, is it up to the luminary heights of aggression versus antagonist that, let's say, Doom is? Well, Doom has a bit more rangy, settling in on a double-barrel bad day ender kind of thing where you're shooting from long distance. Guns do their trick there. Shadow Warrior parlays a vastly larger overall armory into the skin-tight ninja pants of its main character, and lets you go hog wild. And in the end, I would say, in some ways, ranged is a little bit hurt by that. They don't really have that kinetic force, but up close absolutely does. Of course, as you battle, you get money and items, which help you get more quests and items, and unlock new items, which allows you to do more quests, which allows you to jump into the main quest, but also do a side quest for the NPC, which then opens up a new upgrade. It's a spider web of awesome. Everything is interconnected with everything else, and it just simply works. And folks, seriously, what you have here is one of the slickest playing games released in maybe the last 5 years. And yeah, I said it. This thing takes the speedy parkour of the recent Doom title and says, hey, you know what? I got an idea. Let's say we ignore gravity, because that's just stupid, which results in you leaping up the sides of buildings, down from hundreds of feet into the air, and speed dashing behind enemies. Remember, in Doom, when you needed a ledge to jump up onto something, sure, you can do that here as well, but you can also leap off enemies' heads. It's pretty damn sweet, and the feeling of freedom is almost never impinged on this title. Now, even with others playing the game with you, the large number of weapons, the upgrades like electrical, fire, or cold damage, which are visually shown on the weapons as well, and the various other aspects, means that it's easily possible to play a completely different style character than someone else, soaking points up into, say, high hit points, and then combining that with upgrades that both heal and also lifesteal, means you're just going to be be a damage-soaking Leviathan, and in the end, somebody else could choose stealth. Now, does this hurt the game's overall presentation compared to Shadow Warrior 1? I personally don't think so. In fact, I absolutely love the way this game plays. From the main missions to the side missions to the quests to the items to the upgrades, everything I did was really, really enjoyable. Fun factor. So yeah, it is without a doubt the most fun I've had since Doom, and I dare say in some places it is more fun than Doom. Now, with Doom I discussed the mobs and gobs of mobs. With Shadow Warriors it's about walking off spent and sweaty after your samurai sword sliced snicker-snack through the back of a bad guy ill-prepared for the wang. And it's glorious. Is it as good as Doom? I'm not sure. Where Doom excelled in that excellent play, many times at a distance, Shadow Warrior is up and close and personal, and the range play sort of lacks what heft Doom had. But in the end, and in its own right, this is fantastic fun. And the fact that this is 4-player co-op is absolutely astounding. Unfortunately, it is all online. We'll see what the consoles do when they get released. So as always, you guys know I rate games on a buy, wait for sale, rent, or never touch it again rating scale. On a PC, rent, of course, would be a deep, deep sale. Without hesitation, this is a buy. It's also less priced than a full game, which is phenomenal. Additionally, when you're doing any of those quests, you can just go hog wild and go running off and explore, and that's fantastic as well. The game has an incredible amount of enjoyment. You're looking at probably 15 plus hours just for the main story, and that's if you don't do any exploring. If you just sort of go through it on, let's say, normal or harder difficulty. The game is fun, full stop. So anyway, that's it for me. I hope you guys liked the review. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Maybe check out Twitter or Patreon. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. And remember, if you want reviews that aren't filled with sponsored bullshit or 2 minutes long, stick with ACG. Peace out and enjoy the rest of your week.